All right, y'all. So new week, new topics to tackle. It's time to believe the hype with the homie Legally Hype. What's going on, yo?
What's good? Good morning.
All right, man. So the big midterm elections were held over the course of the week, and there was some victories, a few L's
Absolutely.
taken.
Yeah.
Let's start with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's now elected the governor of Arkansas.
Yeah. Okay. So, boom, Lil Huckabee is the first female governor of Arkansas, and the first like daddy daughter duo, I think, like across the United States right now. She run a very interesting race, right? Obviously, she's a Republican. We know her. She used to be press secretary for Donald Trump, and then she jetted up out of there real quick. And I think that was because she obviously wanted to run for governor. But she ran a very interesting race. Very conservative Republican, right? She is anti-choice, very against like COVID mandate vaccines and everything, even though she is vaccinated. um, but yeah, hey, it is what it is. They're pro-choice when it's vaccine. They're anti-choice when it comes to whether or not you have a baby. But it made sense to them, so that's what they did. So yeah, Arkansas, that's y'all governor. Congratulations.
Well, we got that's crazy, but we did get some good, amazing news, and that's Westmore in Maryland, the first black governor in Maryland.
Yes.
In Maryland.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so boom. Maryland, y'all needed that because y'all know, I don't know if y'all ever seen The Wire, but even though that's just Baltimore, Maryland got a lot going on, right? Their crime rate is off the chain, especially amongst the younger population. A lot of those inner cities were struggling to get like work, right? To get businesses to come into the cities. Their education system is, I mean, in the United States, period, we're struggling, but their education system was very much struggling. And he ran on all these points. And he also ran on just being inclusive, right? So he went through all the precincts out there in Maryland to try to touch the people and let them know, I'm a governor for everyone. It's less about being a Democrat or a Republican.
Right.
It's about the fact that we out here in Maryland and we need to get to work. We need some help. Brother ran by a landslide, or won by a landslide, excuse me, which was amazing. And his victory speech was off the chain. So shout out to y'all, Maryland, and don't mess this up. Okay.
Isn't it a little
Indeed.
crazy that this is only the third black governor that we've had, period?
Yes, in the United States of America. Is it crazy? No, when you think about the fact that Black people realistically have only been allowed to vote like as a whole for the last 57 years. It hasn't been that long, right? And the fact that we are breaking these barriers are amazing. But I think the better part of it, and I believe he said this in his speech too, like it's not about, being the first or anything like that, but actually making the changes that need to be made. And this is why representation matters, right? There are a lot of things that have been lacking, and some of it is cultural, because you have leaders who just aren't familiar with the culture, don't even care to try to get in tap with it. And then you see this division amongst the states. And so I think this is amazing, third black governor, but let's keep it going. We good.
Yo, this is just the start, man. Let's keep that train rolling. And I'll tell you what, we're going to pause this conversation right now. More with Legally Hype coming up in a minute, because you hear about WTFs in society, but the next thing we got to talk about is HTF. HTF is Warnock and Walker going for a runoff. It was actually close to the point that where now there's going to be a runoff. How and why is this a thing?
Okay, so boom. If you ask my honest opinion, I think it's because Governor Kemp was on the ballot, right? It was easier. And I'm just keeping a buck with you, right? A lot of Republicans, especially Southern Republicans, they vote party, right? They can care less about the person and what they have to talk about and what the talking points are, because they are loyal to the party, period. And so I think that because Governor Kemp was on that ballot, and the way they didn't gerrymander off the chain out there in Georgia, Herschel Walker was able to come this close. Now, this is Warnock's second runoff, right? So he already know what he's doing when it comes to this type of situation. So that gives him one leg up. The other thing is that when it comes to December, you got to get them people to come out here and vote, right? So you are hoping that them same Republicans that was on your team when Kemp was on the ballot during these midterms are going to come out their house and come vote for you in December. We're going to see what happens. Another thing you got to be concerned about too is, unfortunately, Stacey Abrams did not win her governorship.
I cannot believe that.
Well, you could think SB 202. Because Black people came out and, contrary to belief, Black people came out and voted, right? It was about 20% of eligible Black voters did not come out and vote, but the reality is they came out and voted. The way them districts are drawn, the way people were challenging these elections, right? It was a lot of factors that led into that. And I think we just gonna leave it at that one. But what, oh, go ahead.
No, and I think what a lot of people also have the tendency to discredit is how conservative a lot of Latino voters have the tendency to vote, because, you know, they really stick to their guns when it comes to just like, you know, religious things and things that are like, you know, kind of like, you know, taboo. So a lot of times the Republican Party has a way of speaking to them to where like they don't have to do much and they just get looped in. And these are the same people that will put you on a boat and send you somewhere the second they don't need you no more. And that baffles me.
No, absolutely. We saw that happen down in Florida, right? Where people were like, oh, Florida is, you know, the blueprint for America. Absolutely not. They are an outlier, right? And Latinos do vote conservative. And part of it is because some of them, you know, they feel like they came over here and did it the right way and everyone else should do that too. Right. And so they don't want to be discredited. They get the backlash of, you know, the immigration issue as well. When you have quote, quote, illegal immigrants that come in and, you know, all this rhetoric is drawn around them. And so they feel that on their backs as well. So they definitely are conservative. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. A lot of Black men are a lot more conservative than we would like to admit as well. Right. Just be honest with you.
Oh, my bell broke. My bell broke. My bell broke. The most men or the most people that I argue with the most when it comes to politics or anything like that is always a Black man. And it's really sad to me because some of the points that are made, like even from when Trump was in office, is very disheartening.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this is my take on it, right? When you think about the Republican Party in general, they run off economics and economy, right? And one thing, the one thing that we praise men for, or we put men in this box based on their pockets, right? How much money you got? Because I don't want no broke man and right? Yeah. And so, of course, they are going to support the candidate that makes them feel more empowered in that capacity, right? So I think that's where a lot of their conservative views come from, because they like, hold up, I just got much money, so I want to protect it as much as I can. They are less concerned about the social issues because they always come at the brunt of the social issue, right? They always end up on the back end. They, you know what I mean? So they like, okay, well, at the very least, y'all don't respect me for my color, respect me for my pockets, right? So we see a lot of Black men vote conservative.
But ain't a big part of the reason why you're the N in the social situations is because you don't speak up and do anything when you have the chance, and you rather go off your money, and that's what they care about you for. So maybe if you would have dive into the deep issues when it comes to social, maybe it'll balance out. But because you keep choosing the money over, so do them. So do they. So they don't care about socially what's going on with the Black man because he only cares about his money, and that's where they're going to hit you in your pockets.
Oh, absolutely. And then, I mean, just to play devil's advocate or be on the other side of it, right? When you look about the Black men that stood up for social issues, they got assassinated.
Every lap. And then also too, like, you know, new people with new money are always concerned with keeping that money. Absolutely. And a lot of times with, you know, some of the policies that Democrats put into place, it does cost a little money, you know, for people who are kind of on the lower economic scale to kind of like set up the type of infrastructure that's needed to create bigger social programs and whatnot. So it's a battle.
Conversation, y'all.
It's a big battle.
Even for you to say that they are killed, that furthermore should show you reason why we need to figure that out and put our foot on that. Put our foot on that neck. You know what I mean? Because obviously they're trying to stop you from talking for a reason. You got way more power than you think.
Absolutely. And I say that the Black male vote is a powerful vote, right? After white men, Black men have the right to vote before any other group of individuals, right? So that is a very powerful vote.
Legally hype. I do want to ask you really quickly. I know I'm kind of moving backwards, but we speak about a runoff. Now, I know some people are not really 100% sure what that means because they hear November 8th and they're like, well, I voted on November 8th. And if you didn't have the outcome, why am I going back in December for?
Yeah, no problem. So what it is in Georgia, if you do not get over 50% of the votes, right, it's basically like a tie. And so you basically, it's like, okay, well, the voters are undecided in that sense, right? So the state is basically like, we're going to give y'all one more again to figure out what these people really want. So you got a few more weeks to get your message across, to convince voters, either voters who weren't on your team or maybe who didn't come out to vote before, to come out and vote for you and say, we want you as our legislator, right? To serve as our legislator. This is an important task, right? Because it's hard to get people to come out and vote during an off election event, right? Or election season. And a lot of people are, I'll be honest, they worn out. Okay. The last 2020 election, we still in the 2020 election. We ain't stopped talking about it. This is the first time in my history, right, that I know that we are still talking about an election that happened 2 years ago, and we're on our way to the next one. So people are exhausted and they're tired. But this is very important because depending on what side gets the Senate, right, Democrats or Republican, a lot of the things that Biden has already put in place, those they gonna be gone. They could get repoed real quick, right? Because bills have to go through the House and the Senate in order to pass, right? And what can happen is with Republicans looking like they're about to get the House, they can challenge a lot of that legislative stuff that has already been put in place and put it on stop, put it on a hold. We already see the student loan thing is on hold right now because some states took it to the Supreme Court. So that's a huge issue. If we are concerned about the economy and things like that growing, we are going to be at a standstill, at a halt if we lose in Congress. Because just like taking it back to 2010, when Obama lost the House and the Senate, he couldn't get anything passed, right? You think about 2018 when Trump lost the House, he couldn't get anything passed. This is going to be the same thing. You won't get anything passed. And so we're going to continue to teeter-totter in our government and democracy because nothing's going to get passed because neither house, the Congress, the Senate nor the House want to work together when they're from separate parties. And that's kind of the larger issue. And I think that's one of the reasons too, why the younger generation is like, y'all old folks got to go. Okay. Cause y'all been fighting, waiting to exhale for, I don't know how long, and it ain't happening. Okay. So we need to bring in younger people who understand that even if we have a difference of opinion, we can still work together to make it work for the broader good of the American people. We are not seeing that in government right now with these people who 80, 90 years old. My granny is 70 something years old. She at home. She's not working. She been retired. I don't know why y'all still working, but younger people are not here for it. So this is even more of a reason to go out and vote, Georgia, and on December 6th, okay, for the right person. Yeah. Period.
Warnock. That's the right person.
And then also too, you also got to look at far and large. What you're saying is like, yo, this system is broke. It's been broken for a long time. It's counterproductive. You may get the right guy in office who gets nothing done because you have people who are constantly working against them, right? And even if you vote and you vote often and, you try to get the right person, like the right people, controlling the House and the Senate, it just seems like the whole system and the way it's set up is just so damn counterproductive, and it needs a hard reset. And we need to put a little bit more energy into these independent candidates as well, who maybe don't have the same media leverage as the main Democratic or the main Republican candidate does, because a lot of these independents be really having something to say. And only thing that happens is when they get edged out is their policies get cannibalized by the other people and utilized in their platform as they continue to run.
No, absolutely. So I think part of it is this, right? Which is why it's an issue that in some elections there's no limit on campaign funds. Right. That's a dangerous thing because these candidates, they run ads, right? And these big corporations, they put big money behind these ads. When you see Super Bowl ads, right? Ads on certain channels and stuff, them is big dollar ads. They are paying millions of dollars to kind of put this in our face. It's all marketing, right? When you think about politics, it's all marketing. Most of these politicians spend majority of their time asking for money so they can run for the next race because you need that money to get out there to the people. And so part of that is going to be finding a way. And right now, we have the internet, and even from my perspective over the last couple of months, right, I've had the opportunity to talk to different legislators who are running for positions I probably would have never had before, right? But because of the power of the internet and social media and being able to connect to these individuals and help them get the message out to a broader audience, that has been possible. So I think coming into the next couple of elections, individuals who are running for these different positions need to start thinking about that. I would say that Obama laid the groundwork in showing that grassroots work works. You just have to put in the work to get there. It's a lot of work and you got to invest in it. And so in order to get these independent candidates out there, right, in order to get these less mainstream candidates out there, it's doing the grassroots work and utilizing those resources in order to get your message out when you don't have the financial backing of these big corporations, because that's where a lot of the mainstream is coming from. These people be bought. Okay, when you look at Herschel Walker, he can't even put a sentence together. You think he's gonna be able to help y'all write some legislation? He could barely debate Warnock, right? You think he's gonna be able to debate on that Senate floor? Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. But people aren't paying attention to that. And a lot of people, they don't even watch those debates, right? We see a clip now and every now and again on CNN, the Shade Room, wherever your preference is. But to really understand the work that it takes to be a legislator, how much time and effort it takes to write these different pieces of legislation, that needs to be understood as well. So y'all voting for somebody who done been hit upside their head about 50,000 million times, right? And can't even speak for himself. He can't even remember half his baby mamas. You think he's gonna remember y'all?
Let me tell you, I feel like whoever can do the best in the morning hustle $1,000 cash grab should get the seat.
Well, at this point, that's where we at.
I just want people to do better. I want them to do better. I feel like sometimes you see a name and you're just like, oh, I heard of Herschel Walker. Like they don't know even why they know the name and they're just voting for people. And it's like, yo, do your homework, because these are some awful people we're putting in position just from being ignorant and not knowing to do your homework before you go in and vote for someone.
Me and Lo was literally talking about a guy the other day who won an election in Pennsylvania. He's been dead since October 9th.
But then I asked Headcrack, but who's more dumb? The people that left the name up there and they're supposed to be responsible for, these are the same people counting the ballots, the same people, like, you think about it. So if they didn't even take his name off, who's the real idiots here?
Right. And this is why, right, you look at things like your Secretary of State, who's in charge of things like that, right? And you need to be mindful of who we are voting for in these different positions. This is the thing, though. I think we have been ignorant of the process for a long time. We have been mechanical about voting, right? Especially Black people in our community. I think now, though, especially after the Trump era, or we're still in the middle of it, it's becoming more mainstream to talk about the process of voting and the process of civics and how the different branches work together and what these different positions entail. It is the psychology of people to vote for who you know or who you think you know, right, or a name you recognize, right? Or even someone who you feel like you can identify with because maybe they look like you. But again, we are learning, first of all skin folk and kin folk, right? Yeah. So pay attention to that, right? But in addition to that, again, we are being more enlightened about it all, and we're paying more attention to it all. And I think that's the better part. And Obama said it best, right? He was like, check this out. Just because you a good football player, right, don't mean you're going to be a good politician. So I could be good, legally hype, right? But you don't want me doing your BBL, right? As smart as I am.
Maybe, depending.
Right? Look, as smart as I am, if I walk in that operator room talking about I'm finna hook you up, I'm finna give you the Nicki Minaj special.
Okay, so boom, get on the table.
Okay, so right. You're gonna be like, legally hype, I like your content and all, but baby, no, ma'am, right? So we need to really think about that. And really, when it comes to politics, that's like one of the jobs where you don't really need a background or education or degree or anything to get the job, right? You could just pull up, have enough money to run and do your thing. So we need to be responsible about the candidates we are supporting. We need to be responsible about where we are putting our money, right? Because a lot of these corporations put money into certain candidates and we just willy-nilly giving our money away.
Absolutely.
So as long as we continue to pay attention to these type of things, I think that progress will happen, right? John Lewis always said, you got to have faith. Right. And faith means that maybe the change doesn't come today, right? You may be fighting for something today and maybe see the change 100 years from now. But it's not just about us here right now. It's about how we continue to build our future for others around us. So I think by having faith, we are seeing these little things grow, right? We're seeing more Black people get into positions of power and leadership. We are seeing leadership be more diverse. And those are things that have been in the works and we have been fighting for hundreds of years. And they are finally happening. So I think we just got to continue to keep the faith and continue to just keep our people educated and informed, and we'll be all right.
There it is. Well, thank you for always showing up and helping us fight the good fight and informing the folks. Legally Hype, if people want to reach you, where can they go?
I am Legally Hype. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on break right now, but I'm still out there.
You better believe the hype, man. One time for Legally Hype, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Y'all. Y'all have a good one.
We are the Morning Hustle.